Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, Dustin and I take a look at the Elijah Craig 18-year-old single barrel 2019 edition. Dustin, not an easy bourbon to get your hands on.
No.
This particular one is barrel 4698, bottled on 7/30/2019, 45% ABV.
And thus, definitely chill filtered, Mike.
Sadly. As you know, Dustin, I'm a huge fan of the barrel proof 12-year-old.
Wonderful whiskey.
Great whiskey. One of the few bourbons I actually collect. You and Jason from Master Drum, you guys actually did a barrel pick of that lately. So whiskey that we were very, very high on. This one's a little bit lower ABV, but an older whiskey. So I'm excited to get into it. This is something that, guys like bourbon. We'll talk about this one quite a bit.
And this
is
a very polarizing bourbon as well, Mike. I mean, there are guys who hate these, there's guys who love them, and part of the problem is it's a single barrel, and as
different every time.
As we're discovering with a lot of the big distilleries, consistency has become less and less a concern as bourbon demand has skyrocketed.
Yeah, people are going to buy it anyway.
This one was a very popular bottle maybe 10, 15 years ago for about $70. Mm-hmm. And everybody was just like, yeah, Elijah Craig 18, best value in bourbon if you want older bourbon. And then it went away for a number of years, as did the 12-year age statement on the Elijah Craig standard release, which has not come back. This one did finally come back. It came back at $130 plus, and I'm hearing people are paying crazy secondary prices. And as you noted, Mike, it's hard to get. However, this is a bourbon that if you really want it, and you either know some people or you're willing to spend a little extra, you can get it. It's not an impossible bottle. They do release a decent amount of it.
45%, I hope so, Dustin. Anyway, nice woolen cover. You always know with bourbons, it's natural color.
Yep, that is one good thing bourbon has done. I wish they would ban chill filtering, but
alas, here we are.
Yep.
Shark bottle. Skinny.
Yeah, and it's one of those bottles where you have a bunch of bottles in your cabinet, and you're like, where do I put this one? And you're like, oh, wait.
You
turn it sideways. Shove it right in.
Shove it right in. Little hole filler.
Yeah, which means the label probably's got some scratches on it.
Same thing with the 12 single barrels.
Yeah.
Love those.
Yeah, this one's a little more curvy. That one's a little more sharp.
All right, let's get into the whiskey.
So very fruity initially. Then you just get straight vanilla. You get some aspartame. You get a hell of a lot of oak.
Mm-hmm. Vanilla, oak,
a little apple,
caramel.
Maybe getting caramel really. There's probably a hint of it there, but
no, there's there. Or taffy, one of the two.
There's a darkness to it, yeah.
But I've been hitting up the local fairs and stuff lately.
I'm telling you, man.
It's my eating season.
The oak.
Got to buff up.
The thing is, you initially nose this thing.
Mm-hmm.
You need to buff up, okay.
It's eating season. That's what I mean.
Oh, eating season. Okay. You mean plump up.
Plump up. That's a better one.
You're putting on your winter, pounds, to protect yourself from the cold.
Yeah, so I've been at a lot of fairs lately. Been crushing them. Doing great at those fairs.
Beautiful.
Not knocking out everything they got there.
You want any of the fair games?
No, you know what? I really didn't play a ton of them this year.
No, you finally learned. Well,
yeah.
40-something years. That's what it takes, guys.
Yeah, I tell you what, I spent $25 at the football throw.
Yeah.
I never won the prize that I wanted because you had to hit 3 in a row, blah, blah, blah.
And you eventually realize that the football basically can't go in there 3 times. Yeah, it just barely fits.
It's too inflated.
Yeah. If you could just let him Tom Brady it for a second,
I tell you what, though, man. Oh, if I was Tom Brady, I'd deflate the ball.
That's why. Well, you'd pay them to deflate it for you.
I'd pay them to deflate it for me.
Let's be honest. Tom Brady shows up at the fair and says, "Hey, I want that deflated." The guy's gonna go, "What do you? Yes, sir." And, and there's gonna be $500 in there. He's just gonna stick it in his pocket. And he's gonna be like, "That cheapskate. Fine, I'll do it anyway."
It does come off like a chill filtered whiskey. I will say that. It does come off a bit thin on the nose from what I was expecting.
It's interesting. It's explosive and it's actually really flavor. The nose is very rich and there's. Sorry, that's not rich. There's a ton there, but you're right. It's not rich.
It's superficial.
It's not rich.
It's very like you think something's there. It's like it's a house, but it's made out of gingerbread.
What cornet I just got? Not peanut cornet. All right, Mike. I'm just gonna hop into the taste.
All right. Yeah, I mean, again, it's a few of the things I like about the barrel proof. but it's hollow comparatively. Be picking up on the palate.
All right. So the good. Super fruity. One of the most fruity and overtly fruity Heaven Hill products I've had. Has some apple, has some pear. Might even have like a couple other things in here with some cranberries. I mean, it's got a lot of really nice fruits that I don't generally bring out with bourbon. But it definitely on that, let's just call it that lighter colored with a little bit of berry notes kind of sneaking in there range. And that's the good. The mediocre is the vanilla comes in there and it's a little flat. It's not quite that exciting. And the sweetness has a slight aspartame note that isn't really hurting it because it's working well with that fruitiness. The bad is the oak level here isn't that it's overpowered with oak. The oak just doesn't taste very good. It's a unpleasant oak. And I'll let Mike, you get into what you're getting here.
I agree with you. It's orchard fruits.
Yeah, that's probably a better way of saying it. Or is it stone fruits the other way they kind of say that sometimes?
I think you have to have a pit in those. I would think apples, pears.
That fits.
Yeah, you can convince me of that. The oak note is chalky. Mm-hmm. The oak note is very...
astringent.
I was going to say bitter, but not bitter. Astringent is probably a better word for it. The caramel note comes off super artificial. Yeah, like there's some type of wrapping on it, or like a silicone covering or something like that. Yeah. Something that almost feels like artificial or glue-ish, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely, 100%.
I like the vanilla note, but it's hard to separate the vanilla note from the kind of off-wood note. Mm-hmm. So I now understand why they brought it down to 45. I feel like if this was cask strength, which I know they're not afraid to bottle cask strength bottlings. They do with the 12 all the time.
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't do it with the older ones.
Yeah, they don't do it with the older ones, but I think the oak note would be too much on this.
I'd love to have a 23 to compare it to, but...
Yeah, so would I.
And I've had the 23 and had the 18 the same day before, and I actually really enjoyed that 23.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe use better casted ones that performed a little bit better. I really feel like...
Well, again, they use just... There's less of the 23s by substantial numbers.
Well, that would make sense.
So they're much more selective.
Well, bourbons really can't go this type of age, usually. You know what I mean? When you're talking 18 years old, that's old for a bourbon. That's when bourbons tend to get a little sketchy for me.
Well, but that's also to me where the best bourbons show up.
Well, if it can make it that long, and you decide to bottle it, I guess what I'm trying to say, or a better way of me dancing around this subject is, if this was bottled a year earlier, maybe 2 years earlier, if this was 16 or 17 years old, I think probably that's when these casks were probably at their peak. Mm-hmm. But they don't do a 16-year-old. They do a 12-year-old cask strength, and they do an 18-year-old and a 23-year-old. So it had to go 18 years.
We do need to try water with this one just to find out. Now, I will say this, Mike. So you are getting the best version of this bottle.
Okay.
If you had this when I first opened it, you'd have poured the glass out already.
Why?
If you think there's a lot of oak on it now, you wouldn't have gotten those fruits at all. Initially, this was nothing but oak. It was bitter, offensive, astringent, and quite frankly, unpleasant. Mm. And right now, I do actually think this is very pleasant.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it's a nice whiskey experience at this point.
The fruitiness up front is actually really enjoyable. It's very pleasant. It's nice. And guys, I know a lot of you have these that you don't like. Give it at least a year. This is a 2019. I bought it December of 2019. It was opened December of 2019. Mm-hmm. And
you're just getting out where you enjoy it?
We're probably just past the halfway mark now that we poured these two pours. And it's probably right around the halfway mark, maybe just below it. It's becoming a better whiskey. But you have to give this one time if it's over oaked. And that sucks because these are... I know some people are paying $300 plus for these, Mike. So I'm paying even more than that, I think, which...
It's not worth it.
Don't do that.
I mean, because you think Elijah Craig, I'm such a fan of the 12. Mm-hmm. And you think 18 years old, you know what I mean? Well, it's got to be good.
You've had that 15 and 16-year Old Fitz. Now, mind you, that's a weeder. This is not.
Sure.
But that's also Heaven Hill. Those are really good.
Yeah, at that age. It's almost like that's a sweet spot for them.
By the way, they've got a 30-something year Heaven Hill coming out. Bourbon.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I've seen that too.
11 barrels. I really want to know the bottle count just for the sheer fact I want to know what the evaporation rate on those were. Like, jeez. And it's going to be terrible, I'm sure. Just like, nobody likes a 27.
All right, so with water, this chalky oak, it becomes more astringent. When you said that initially, I was just like, yeah, I get a little bit of that. I get more of it with water.
I'm getting a little bit of astringency, but I'm actually getting more of like a chocolatey note.
Well, that is happening too.
The fruitiness has gone away.
Chocolate and vanilla are more prominent, but the oak note became chalky and dusty.
It actually is hitting the nostrils a little bit, but I'll be honest. I actually like this nose on the oak side more because it's reminding me more of like a classic Heaven Hill. It's also bringing out some nuttiness that the Heaven Hills do occasionally. Not a lot, just a little. This remains on the nose very pleasant, very nice, not special. But very nice.
I mean, that glue note is becoming more dominant now with this water.
I'm not getting the glue as much now. I'm just getting it's like a oak funk, and it's not in like the wild turkey fun way because it's not quite as funky. It's like funk that doesn't quite have enough funk to make it good. That sounds weird, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed with this. I had higher expectations. I know I had this once or twice before, but I had higher expectations. Because again, I'm a huge fan of the 12, barrel strength. I mean, again, we were talking about that today. I mean, I got 7, 8 of those collecting, in the bottom of my whiskey cabinet.
Okay, water's horrible for this.
Again, I told you this has done nothing for it.
Wow, well, water killed the palate.
All right, let me get it.
Like I don't even know if you want to taste it, man. Wow, it got way more bitter, way more astringent. The fruit that was killing it and was making it so delicious for me is gone.
I agree. And when I tell you, it was more astringent on the palate, it's super astringent.
Yeah.
We used to have this place that, I'm talking 25 years ago in Columbus, that took like horses and road animals and melted them down to glue. And the smell that when you drove by that place it would make, that is the taste and smell I'm getting off that right now.
I'm going one more time because I just can't believe how much. I mean,
it's horse glue.
Like this literally lost 5 points for me on the palate with water.
Yeah,
if not 7.
Do not put water on this thing.
And by the way, guys, it didn't water it down to where like it's not. Actually, the flavor is actually more intense now. It's just
terrible intensity.
It's terrible.
Yeah, this was a terrible idea to put water in. I mean, we have to put water.
We have to do it to test. I mean, mind you, I honestly have never added water to this one.
I mean, it's 45%.
Exactly. This has always come off too thin for water, but for the review we had to. And I mean, normally I put water in 95% of the whiskeys I drink. This one is one I've never done it to.
Horse glue and hooves and bitter oak. Astringent bitter oak with water. Oh, man, that's not good.
I'm even getting like an alcohol bite. How the hell am I getting an alcohol bite after we brought it down to like 42%?
Wow. What a disappointment.
Yeah.
What a disappointment.
I'm done with that one.
Yeah, I'm not drinking that anymore. What are you as far as the whiskey score?
All right, so guys, I'm going to do the score on this one based purely on neat, not the water. Unfortunately, the water ruined it completely. But I'm taking 2 points off because of that.
Okay.
So I'm going to give it a 78. Had I scored it with water,
84.
Oh, it'd be lower.
Okay. Oh no, I'm sorry. Without water, maybe I'd be an 84. Dude, I was thinking in my head once I put water on this thing, 79. Yeah, this is a flat disappointment of a whiskey.
For me, I was initially right around an 80.
People pay $300 for this?
Yeah. And every person I've talked to who's had this bottle has been disappointed. Every person I've talked to who's had it at a bar has liked it more. And you know why?
They're at a bar.
Also because the bar, it's been open for longer. Again, these are way worse.
Yeah, and they're not.
And again,
they're in rocks glasses.
A lot of times they get them at a good bar with Glencairns. I mean, I had this at a bar. I bought it because I had it at a bar, and I had it in Glencairn at the bar. And I remember it had nice fruity notes, which this does have. But for me, I mean, again, 80's still a quality whiskey. It's still whiskey that I will enjoy drinking at a bar.
You bring this over again, I'm not drinking it.
No, I'm not bringing it over again.
Yeah, no. Don't bring that back.
The only time this bottle ever... Again, this is a bottle that I now just drink to compare to other whiskeys.
I'm not drinking that.
Yeah. Water, honestly, the water probably... I said... It's probably a 60.
You remember I said
this is terrible.
You remember I said they couldn't bottle it at higher strength because, it was probably too bitter, too astringent. The oak note was too big. They couldn't... Man, they had to fine-tune this to even put it in a bottle.
Also, what's kind of making me think maybe had they not put so much water in this and not brought it down so much, it might actually be good.
I don't know.
Because we saw what water did.
Yeah, you're right.
Maybe they shouldn't have put water and it would have kept more of those fruits. Because that apple pear thing up front was actually really delicious.
I think the oak would have over-dominated. What's the retail on this?
bought this 2 years ago for 130. They may have gone up. I don't know.
No way that's worth it.
120, 130.
I wouldn't buy that whiskey. I wouldn't buy it for $20.
I'll never buy another one of these. I want to try I want to get a 23 to own because I do recall that one being really good. But I've had the opportunity to buy a 23, Mike, and I've passed because I just remember it not being good enough.
All right, I'm done with this.
Yeah. Hey
Dustin,
guys.
Until next time, what do we wish, folks?
Drink something better like this.
Yeah, don't drink. 12 single barrels, way better than this whiskey. Way better. Anyway, see you next time.